So a few people asked to see how I did the lighting in one of my maps. So I've made a quick little example map here, or room, and I'll take you through how I would go about drawing the lights in for this. So first of all, pretty simple, only one light. We've got the lantern here on the wall. So from there, I would make a folder on top of everything, call it light. And the side of that, I would make another folder, call it lights, and we won't use it just yet, but we'll make another one called shadow. Alright, from there we will go ahead and drop the light. I have a pre-made little light layer here. It is a folder that has two separate blended color things on it. I can post that somewhere so people can get a hold of it. And from there, I drag that into position on top of where I expect the light to be. So pop that right on top of the lantern. And then we put the opacity down to something a bit more manageable. About, say 50 for now. And that has that in. From there we need to figure out where our shadows are going to be cast. So from there I create a new layer, and over the left here you can grab the ruler tool, and you want a special ruler set to radial line, and I put this right in the center of the lantern there. Now I will grab a pen just with an obvious color, make it an alright size, and I will come along, and this ruler will make it so that every line you draw will automatically be a line radiating out from that point. So I can say, alright, everything past this corner will be in shadow. Everything past, we want to decide how big our dresser is. If it's high enough that the light's above it, it's fine as it is. If it's higher, that the light is leaving a big shadow, you draw your lines. That gives your lines of where the shadow would be coming from that. I expect that there would be some lines coming from the footstools, feet, legs. So I'll put some in there just for reference in a minute. Depends on how far away the stool is on how long the line is going to be. Once we've got all that in there, first of all, the first bit we should do is select our walls, and on the mask layer for the light, we will fill that in with opaque so that the light isn't going through the wall. There we go. From there, the first bit I will do is the quick and easy bit. Grab the selection tool on polylines, probably the easiest, and just draw out where it needs to be in shadow. Say the tippy top of that is not going to be too high, so that can be in light still. Fill that in. Bam, we got some shadow there. Next, the way I've come up with for figuring out what the shadows for objects that are lower than a light source should be is I like to find the layer that I need the shadow for. So let's say we'll do that front stool first. And I will duplicate that layer. So I've got a copy. Now I will drag the center transform point, this little thing here, on top of the light source. Now, if I expand it with the scale over here, it'll push it out relative to where we've put that transform point. So it pushes it out just over there. And if I make a new folder for these, well, that was the one there. Yep. Chuck him into there. Do the next still. Drag the thing over to there. Now we expanded that one out 120. Since this one's further away from the light, it should be casting a bigger shadow. So we'll make sure it's a bit bigger than the previous one, so it goes out a bit further, and as you can see, it expands perfectly along these perspective lines I've already drawn. Grab that's done that still, this one, and we put this to here. It's about the same distance as this one here, so I'll call it 120. 120, and one more, the one over there. Copy that, put it up here, do the same process. That's about the same distance as this one. A little bit closer. Call it like 100. Oh, not what I was trying to do. A little bit more. Yeah, that looks about right. Cool. Now we can select this folder to get all of their selections. So you can just right click, go selection from layer, create selection, or you can just hold down Control and click the folder and you'll get the selection. And we can come up here, hit delete. And now that portion has a shadow on it. We can get rid of this folder, we don't need it anymore. I'll just hide it in case we need it again later for some reason. And I can also draw in these feet lines. So we will have to go to here. If I can find my little reference line, there we go. I can actually just put this perspective ruler over here and draw them in myself, so any that would actually be visible. Oh, roll that one there up to underneath the stool. That one needs to come all the way up to there, to there. They're not super visible at the moment. I can turn this up to make it a bit more obvious, but it'll all come together in the end. We need to start where the leg is, come into there. There we go, super easy, just gotta let the ruler do the work. Right, there we go. I forgot to add the table into the same group. You do exactly the same thing, copy paste. Make sure you have the operation tool selected, put this on top of the light that I cannot see the top of because I made it so bright. There we go. Expand that out about till it makes sense. It's higher than the chairs, so it might go on top of that other stool shadow a little bit. Yeah, that feels about right. Select it. Go back to the light layer, turn that off, delete that, and then we shouldn't have any visible legs for that, so that should be fine. I feel like this should be a bookcase, a cupboard low enough that you just get the normal shadow, so I will do this the same way. Put that there, spread it out a bit. It nicely follows the perspective lines. And selection. Delete it from there. And for this one we have these little bits here where you would expect there would also be shadow, so I will just draw those in. Easy peasy. From the corner there. And all the other far ends are fine. Now that we have that, I will tidy up this little bit over here. Turn off the ruler by holding shift and clicking on it so that it's not affecting my brush when I'm trying to do this. Now I need to decide if I want any of this to be in shadow. We'll say that the shelf is lower so that this brunt is casting no shadow over the rest of that, just to make things easy. Now we can hide these, and you will be thinking, well, should the shadow not be on top of the things? Yes, of course. So we will select all the object layers and go back to the mask for our light and quickly with a pen draw back in where the light should be. So we'll put shadow back on there. Whole table should have some light, and the chairs. Although the table might actually be casting a little bit of a shadow on the edge of this, so we'll cut that off a little bit. You can actually tell how far it should be going if I can see where the shadow starts on it, but I can't, it's too faint at that point. So we'll just say that that's about right. Here we go. No one will notice. And this whole top of this bookcase should be in shadow. If we don't give those front drawers light, because they might be a teeny bit lower, and we'll get rid of this teeny bit of shadow here. If you want to be really pedantic, you could say that the lip on this is a little bit deeper, and put get the right color brush, a little bit of a shadow from that. But that is probably something that no one will ever notice, so it doesn't really matter. Right, so we've done. Oh, I forgot to put a little bit over here as well. There we go. You could say that because of the beveling on the table, there might be a bit of shadow over here as well. Just go wild and have fun with how you think the lights should go. Sometimes if I'm really confused by a shadow or how I think it should look, I'll actually make a little rough shape out of it, out of like a little piece of cardboard or something, and light it with my cell phone light and see what sort of shadow that casts. It can be a good guide. I'll do something similar for this tiny little candle over here. It's obviously a very small one, so we don't need a big light. We'll drop this on top of, I have to cancel my selection, otherwise it's going to keep doing the mask things. We'll drop it on there. Let's Control T, make it much smaller because it's just a little candle. It doesn't need that much of a light. Maybe even a bit smaller. Yeah, there we go. Pop that up there. And we will quickly rough in where it should be. I don't think it should be making it onto the floor at all, because that is much further down. We will just go like this, and it won't be making it up onto the top of this because that's too high up. Quickly create a selection of that, delete it off the layer mask, and then we can grab a soft brush, and I would say maybe the center of the book isn't getting as much light, and definitely everything past it might be having a shadow. We'll soften this up a little bit. Maybe the top portion of that's getting a hit of light along there. Maybe even if it's expanded that far, there's a teeny bit. I can't actually see if that is drawing it again or not. No, it's too faded out by that point, so don't worry. These corners might be casting a little bit. You can just do whatever feels right to you. There we go. And I think that's, let's say the back side of that is also shadowed. That looks about right. Now we can bring it all together. First of all, we put let's leave these all at 100%. On this new layer, make sure it is set to through as the blending mode. And also this top one, make sure that's set to through. There we go. Now the lights look actually a bit more like lights. We'll bring the opacity of this down a little bit. I feel like that's a little bit too strong. Let's call it 70. Yeah, that looks good. Now this is where our shadow folder comes in. We can put a new layer in here, and we will fill that with like a very, very dark blue, like barely registering on the blue shade. There we go. Fill. It's obviously much too dark. Put that at about, I like 40, but it depends on how dark you want your map to be. 40%. Here we go. Now we can hold Control, click the lights group again. Now we have a little selection, and just select our shadow layer again and hit delete a couple of times to get rid of any darkness that has been added where our lights would be, because obviously there's not any light, not any shadow where there's light. So we'll delete that out, and it all comes together. You can do that pretty simply for multiple lights. If you had another one over here, you could do the same thing going in the opposite direction, as long as you make sure you put all the shadows from it on the correct mask for the right light, and they will blend together correctly. And yeah, it gets a bit more complicated if you've got like not point light sources, like windows that are letting in a big blast of light. You can be pretty soft and freehand on shadows like that, I guess. But if you've got any questions, just let me know.